BPM here is usually much slower than regular synthwave. In this particular track it's 81, but it starts even slower in the beginning, somewhere from 71 BPM. Starting with chords as usual, chords here work more like a pad, and their main point is to build that layered background. All of these chords are written in G sharp minor, and the root notes here are B, F sharp, C sharp, and B once again. Adding a note 7 semitones above the root note, and then adding a duplicate of a root note 1 octave above, or 12 semitones. Do it with every triad in this progression. This is a really simple pad in Serum, just 2 standard saw waves with 16 unison levels on each one, putting one oscillator 1 octave above and the second one 2 octaves above, cutting all the harsh frequencies with the filter MG-Low-24, making attack just a bit longer, and adding some release just to make these chords smoother and once again not that harsh. In FX, just adding some dimension for width, some distortion, and some chorus to brighten the sound up a bit. And the biggest trick here is the noise level. As you can see, I connected it to the macro tab, so I can automate this noise level. It might sound too harsh all alone, but in the mix it just adds that shimmer in the background and fills out the space. And finally, just adding some Valhalla Shimmer to smear out these chords. If you don't have Valhalla Shimmer, you can use a free Supermassive plugin, for example. Another layer is another pad, which is much richer in terms of chords. These are the same chords I showed you previously, but I added notes in between and above original chords. This pad was made in Vital, and it's also a simple one. Just 2 saw waves with unison levels at max, and detuning them off each other. Some chorus with 4 voices, to add some width and brightness, multiband compression for more crispy sound, and a filter to shave off harsh frequencies at the top. And adding Supermassive here as well to smear the sound out, so it will sound like a pad. Moving to a leading melody, the heart and soul of this track, I should mention once again that it's not the exact sound, but you get the idea how you can make something similar. As you can see, I have 2 layers of melody. First is more plucky, and the second one is more atmospheric with a lot of reverb. They are also written in G sharp minor, and basically it's a 2-bar loop melody repeating throughout the track. Also, I duplicated this melody 1 octave higher in both MIDI clips to make this melody more prominent. Both of these layers are made in Serum. First one has 2 oscillators, both from Vowel collection. The second one has a sync option around the middle. Both of them are 1 octave up, have a lot of unison, and have different levels of detune and blend on them. Detune and blend options will make this plug sound bright but uneasy at the same time. Envelope is connected to a filter cutoff, something like MG-Low-12. In effects, some dimension for width, distortion, OTT to make sound crispy, and boosting high-end with EQ a little. Adding some stock delay on the top, around 20%, bright room reverb, and once again favorite Telcore selects to make these plugs even brighter. Second plug has 2 oscillators, basic MG, and this one once again, wavetable, which is 1 octave higher. Here we cut all the harsh frequencies at the top with the filter, Low-24, and then Envelope has a longer attack and longer release. In effects, just some dimension and once again multiband compression, also adding some Telcore selects for brightness, and just adding a ton of reverb, automating the mix option, because in the intro we have more muffled and smeared out sound, and in the hook part they are more prominent. I also grouped these melody channels and boosted the high end of the plugs, so they would stand out in the mix a bit more, and both plugs sound like this together. Now let's talk about the bass. Bass pattern is pretty simple, also in G sharp minor, repeating the root notes of our original chord progression. Having these small pauses in between the notes just add more rhythm to the bass line, and in the second half of the track the bass pattern changes a little into a more classic synthwave bass pattern. This plug bass has 2 oscillators and a sub directing out. Second oscillator, Evil Sweep, has 10 layers of unison, an adjusted position to get the sound just right, also 1 octave down, and also FMing from A. Envelope is connected to FM from A option, also to the filter cutoff to make this sound even pluckier. Adjust the drive option on your filter cutoff to add more saturation to your bass, and in the effects we just have regular OTT, some multiband compression, and EQ somewhere in the middle just to boost the low mids up. Then EQing everything a little to your taste and hear how it sounds. And in the second half, Then adding some drums. Drums here are bright and prominent, snare is especially crisp and shimmery, simple 4-to-the-floor pattern. I also added a little kick to emphasize the snare hit. Here's the snare, layered with additional snare which has a longer tail. Then adding some rides in between, just in the background. And later in the track you can add some kind of a shaker in the same pattern as the bass to add more rhythm to the track. And the whole drum group together. And finally on the master channel I added some compression to add sidechaining. It may be too much, you can just add a compressor on the bass channel, but it worked here out on the master as well. Gullfoss is a kinda gimmicky decision, but it added a lot of brightness and fullness to the mix. Then cleaning some mud on the master with Soothe 2 preset, autofilter for automation stuff, and a standard limiter 1 dB lower for the mixing, but you can change it up with a master compressor of your liking. And that's everything in the mix. And that's it, thank you for watching, keep making your own sound, and bye!